Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Saturday, July 30th, 2022. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comment section below. Now, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at the Premium Picks tab at pickdawgz.com. Of course, I'm always running my $15 MLB best bet, so you can check it out at Pick Dawgz Premium. Alrighty, here we go. Here are the games for Saturday, July 30th. First up, we see the Cleveland Guardians taking on the Tampa Bay Rays. We're going to see Zach Plesac and Corey Kluber as your starting pitchers. Now, Corey Kluber has struggled in his last two outings. They were both against the same team in the Baltimore Orioles, but in his last 11 innings pitched, giving up 15 hits and 8 earned runs in that stretch. And that does concern me when you're facing a Cleveland Guardians lineup that's just been so good against right-handed pitching from start to now of the MLB season. In terms of the last 30 days, Cleveland is top 10 in WRC plus against righties, team OPS as well. They don't have the best power numbers, but a guy like Kluber who's giving up some base hits and base runners in general, that does concern me. But on the other side, Zach Plesac, not necessarily wanting to back him right now, especially when you look at his numbers on the road. 1-6 with a 4.97 ERA away from home, only 41 strikeouts and 54 road innings this season, giving up a lot of base hits, walks, and homers as well. His last time out wasn't his best outing. 5 innings, 3 hits, 3 earned runs against the Red Sox, 3 walks as well. And the Rays have also been, surprisingly, up there in team OPS and WRC plus against righties themselves. So I think this total is set a little bit too low. I know when you think of Guardians Rays, you think two pitching friendly teams, two teams that try to play small ball, don't have the biggest bankroll, so they have to make do with what they have. But I do think this is going to be a spot where we see some runs early on. So I'm going to take the over in the Guardians Rays. Next up, we see the Detroit Tigers taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. Drew Hutchinson and Ross Stripling are your starters. Now, I'm going to start going a little bit more outside the box with these rundown plays. A lot of times we see a lot of these big favorites, and we have to go over every single game on the board every single day. That's what we do here. But you know, I'm not in love with the price we're getting with Toronto here, although I still think the Blue Jays are going to win this game, and they should probably win it pretty comfortably. Laying the money line is not an option. The run line, you're still laying negative odds. So I say we look towards the team total in this spot. I like the Blue Jays team total over 5 in this game. I think they'll score about 6-7 runs in this one. Drew Hutchinson giving up 4 earned runs in his last 2 starts each. Only 9 1/3 innings, 8 earned runs combined in that stretch. Doesn't strike out a ton of batters, does give up a lot of walks and hits, and his whip is standing at 1.43, which is pretty steep. He's got a 4.84 ERA on the season, and the Blue Jays have crushed right-handed pitching in the month of July. In the last 30 days overall, number 1 in WRC plus, team OPS, and in terms of isolated power, top 10 as well against those right-handed pitchers. So I'm going to take the Toronto Blue Jays team total over in this Tigers-Blue Jays matchup. Next up, we see the Kansas City Royals taking on the New York Yankees. We're going to see Zach Greinke and Nestor Cortes as your projected starters. Now, I mentioned that I don't love laying these kind of prices with these big favorites. The Yankees, one of them, minus 270 plus right now on the money line. But I do think this is a spot where I'll lay the run line with the Yankees, as I like their matchup against Zach Greinke here. You know, Zach Greinke on the road has been miserable, 0-5 with a 7.38 ERA in 39 road innings this season. He's given up 10 home runs in those 39 innings, only 24 strikeouts. We know he's not really much of a strikeout pitcher anymore. 55 base hits. And although the Yankees' numbers against righties haven't been as good as they were at the beginning of the year, they're still pretty darn good. Top 5 in isolated power, top 6 in team OPS against righties in the last month, though. So I like them to get to the Royals and Greinke in this spot. On the other side, the Royals' offensive numbers haven't been too bad against lefties in the last 30 days. However, we're seeing Kansas City really struggle to score runs. They were the first team in quite some time to get shut out in 3 straight games, losing 2 shutout losses to the Angels and then starting this series with a 1-0 loss. And losing Andrew Benintendi doesn't help this lineup at all. We know they've got some injuries in the lineup, and we'll have to see if those players, guys like Bobby Witt Jr., return to the lineup soon. But right now, this Royals offense is not looking good. Nestor Cortes, I've had my concerns with his game. He has been getting hit here and there, but last time out was fantastic. I think he's good enough here for the Yankees to win and win comfortably. So I'm going to take the New York Yankees and take Nasty Nestor, the 1.9 ERA at home, on the run line at home. In our next matchup, we see the Milwaukee Brewers taking on the Boston Red Sox. Eric Lauer and Nick Pivetta as your projected starters. This is a tough game for me. This is going to be on national television on Fox Sports 1. We see a lot of contradicting statistics here. Now, I do think the Red Sox are going to be able to get to Eric Lauer. I think the Brewers will find some runs on Nick Pivetta as well, but I like Boston on the money line here. If I was going to take a side, I'd lean towards the over as well. Lauer, a 4.73 ERA on the road, and he's given up 13 home runs in 53 innings. That does concern me when you're pitching at a hitter-friendly ballpark at Fenway Park. When you look at the Red Sox in the last 30 days, not a lot has been great for this team, but their numbers against lefties haven't been bad. Nick Pivetta is coming off a really strong bounce-back start. He was struggling really badly against the Yankees and Rays before that outing, but against the Guardians, he went 5 2/3 innings, only 1 earned run, and 6 strikeouts, and it is not easy to strike out that Guardians lineup there. Right now, the lowest strikeout rate in the last 30 days against righties, so really impressive outing for Pivetta there. I'm going to take a chance here with the home team, with the Red Sox here on the money line. I think they can get the job done at Fenway Park. Next up, we see the Miami Marlins hosting the New York Mets. Trevor Rogers and Carlos Carrasco are your projected starters. Now, the Mets have not had the best numbers against lefties offensively this entire season, but I still think since the beginning of the year, the numbers have improved, and Trevor Rogers is just not somebody that I want to back right now. He had another rough start last time out against the Cincinnati Reds, and at home this season, he's 2-6 with a 7.08 ERA. He's just not getting it done at Lone Depot Park, which is pretty surprising as it's more of a pitcher-friendly park, but the Mets just have a way of winning games this season. They've won a lot of big games. They've taken care of business in divisional games as well. Carlos Carrasco's been hit or miss at times and on the road. Definitely not as good numbers as at home, but you look at his last 2 outings, 11 innings, shutout baseball, 7 strikeouts. I'd like to see that number rise a bit, but pitching very well recently. His last 4 outings, you could say, really strong outings, and one of those starts against these Miami Marlins and a Mets win. So I'm going to take the New York Mets here on the road. I think they get a victory here. Next up, we see the Cincinnati Reds hosting the Baltimore Orioles with Dean Kremer and Tyler Mahle as your starters. Now, a lot of the games you're going to see with more of an even money line price. This one, Cincinnati minus 125. These are going to be coin flip type of prices for a reason. And I think this is one of the tougher games on the board, just like the Boston Red Sox game. I'm going to lean towards the Reds here at home. I like the way that Cincinnati's been playing overall now than they were at the beginning of the season. I mean, at the beginning of the year, they had one of the longer losing streaks you're going to see in the last decade in the major leagues. They were not hitting. The pitching staff was really struggling. And although Tyler Mahle hasn't been the sharpest in 2022, I do like the fact that he can strike out some batters. 107 Ks and 98 1/3 innings pitched this season. Dean Kremer is somebody that I am worried about in terms of regression, and we're already starting to see that in his last 9 1/3 innings, giving up 7 earned runs and 2 homers as well. The base hits are starting to rise, and he's already got a 1.3 whip, which is pretty steep for somebody with a 3.06 ERA. Kremer's been pitching well on the road this season, but this is a hitter-friendly ballpark, so I'm not sure it's going to benefit him at all. I'm going to take the Cincinnati Reds here in a lean on the money line. Next up, we see the Seattle Mariners taking on the Houston Astros. Big-time rivalry here in the AL West. Chris Flexen and Framber Valdez are your projected starters. I love me some Framber Valdez, but I also see that the Mariners are crushing lefties in the month of July and overall in the last 30 days. Number 2 in baseball with a team OPS of 907 for Seattle in the last month, and number 9 in isolated power as well. Now, Framber Valdez pitched well against these Mariners. We still gave up 8 hits and 3 earned runs last start. That was on the road at a pitcher-friendly ballpark. Now at a more hitter-friendly park in Minute Maid, I still think the Mariners can get a few runs on Framber, and that might be enough for a run-line cover. I'm not the biggest fan of Chris Flexen. If you've watched the rundown from the beginning of the season, you'll know that. But I have to admit, he is pitching much better now than he was at the beginning of the season, and the Mariners are winning games that he's starting in. You look at his last 5 outings, all winners. Actually, the last 6 outings, you can extend it one more. All winners for the Seattle Mariners. A couple run line covers in there as well. I don't think Seattle needs to win this game. I'll just take the plus 1.5 here. I think it's going to be a close game. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a higher scoring one as well, but give me the 1.5 runs with Seattle. In our next matchup, we see the Minnesota Twins taking on the San Diego Padres. Joe Musgrove and Sonny Gray as your starters. Now, I'm going to take the plus money here with the Minnesota Twins. It's going to be a nationally televised game on Fox, 7:15 Eastern start time. Sonny Gray pitched very well last time out against the Detroit Tigers. 6 innings, 1 earned run, 7 strikeouts. And on the road this year, Sonny Gray's got a sub-3 ERA at 2.97, a 3-2 record as well. And the San Diego Padres offensively just haven't been a very good team lately. When you look at their numbers against lefties, against righties, they're near the bottom in most important hitting statistics. They're 24th in isolated power against righties and 24th in team OPS as well in the last month. And the Twins have crushed lefties. They've done well against righties as well. And Joe Musgrove just hasn't looked the same on the mound lately. When you look at his last start against the New York Mets, 4 earned runs in 5 1/3 innings, giving up a home run. His previous start, the start right before the All-Star break at Coors Field, 5 innings, 9 hits, 5 earned runs. He struggled a bit against the Dodgers back on June 30th as well. So that ERA is starting to rise quite a bit for Musgrove, as he was the early favorite to win the NL Cy Young, but I'm not sure that's the case anymore. He's pitched well at home, and I would say the Padres have the better bullpen, but I just think we're getting such a good price with a much, much better lineup right now in Minnesota. So give me the Minnesota Twins here, getting the plus money on the money. Next up, we see the Chicago White Sox hosting the Oakland Athletics. Paul Blackburn and Johnny Cueto as your starters. Now, Paul Blackburn was the only American League All-Star representative for the Oakland A's, but he is not pitching like that right now. When you look at his last 14 1/3 innings pitched against the Rangers 2 starts and the Astros for 1, so his last 3 outings, 21 earned runs. That includes 10 earned runs in his last outing of 4 1/3 innings, 2 home runs against the Texas Rangers. He is just not in good form, and I lean towards the White Sox team total over, but I also do like the White Sox run line. We're getting plus money still at the -1.5 price. Johnny Cueto's pitching well for Chicago this year, 2.89 ERA. Slightly worse numbers at home this season, but the Oakland A's are top 5 in highest strikeout rate against right-handed pitching this season, and their offensive numbers on the road are worse than they are at home in the last month at least. So I think Cueto has a solid outing. I think the White Sox continue to get to Paul Blackburn, and I like the White Sox here on the run line, lean towards their team total over as well. In our next matchup, we see the Philadelphia Phillies taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Mitch Keller and Ranger Suarez are your starters. I like the under in this game. When you look at the Pittsburgh Pirates, they haven't had a lot of success against lefties lately. Their top 3 highest strikeout rate against lefties in the last month doesn't look great either, 27.5%. That's really been the case all season long for Pittsburgh. They do strike out quite a bit as a team. Ranger Suarez, a 6-1 record with a 3.23 ERA on the road this year. And I think he delivers another quality outing for Philadelphia. On the other side, Mitch Keller, not my favorite option to back on the mound, but I do think he's one of the better options in the Pittsburgh rotation at least, and I think he's having the best season in his career thus far at the major league level. Coming off a decent outing against the Marlins, we went 6 innings, 3 earned runs, 7 strikeouts. If he can repeat that performance here, I think we'll get under this total quite easily. And the Phillies' offense against righties hasn't been the best in the last month, so I think we see a lower scoring game here. Give me the Philadelphia Phillies, Pittsburgh Pirates under the total. Next up, we see the St. Louis Cardinals taking on the Washington Nationals. Dakota Hudson and Eric Fedde are your starters. I got to take the over in this game. The total is set pretty high for a reason. I think the Cardinals do most of the damage offensively themselves, but I still think the Nationals can pitch in here. Hudson's got an ERA above 5 on the road this season. The Nationals, although their offense isn't the best in the league, they are in the 3rd lowest strikeout rate, 18.8% this season. They've got some pop in that lineup. We know with guys like Juan Soto, we'll see how much longer he's still on the team, but until he moves, I still think the Nationals have some pop in that lineup to score a few runs here. But you look at Eric Fedde, not somebody I can back right now. At least 3 walks allowed in each of his last 4 outings. He's also given up a total of 6 home runs in his last 5 starts combined. The strikeout numbers are way down for him. The base hits are way up. And now his whip is at 1.54, ERA just under 5 at 4.95. Cardinals have had good numbers against righties in the last month, so I think we see some offense from the Cardinals especially, but give me the over, the full game over here in St. Louis, Washington. In our next matchup, we see the Arizona Diamondbacks taking on the Atlanta Braves. Corbin Martin and Ian Anderson are your starters. Now, I don't want to take a shot here with the run line with Arizona just because I am worried about the pitching staff with Corbin Martin on the mound. Not my favorite option. He's struggled on the road this season, and I do think the Braves lineup is something you don't want to mess with too often. But I still like the Diamondbacks offense here, and I think we're getting a really good price with their team total over. The team total should only be 3.5 for the Diamondbacks. You might have a little bit of juice on that. But right now they're facing Ian Anderson, somebody that I faded quite a bit in 2022. And the big reason I don't love his game is he gets behind the count very often. He does walk a good amount of hitters. He's given up some home runs as well this season, which is not necessarily something he's used to. And his ERA at home is 6.43, not very good at all. Last time out against the Angels, 3 innings, 7 earned runs, and a homer against an Angels lineup that hasn't been very good themselves. And the Diamondbacks, there's something surprising about this, but you look at the D-backs in the last month, an 11.1% walk percentage is number one in baseball, and their 16.6%, or excuse me, 17.4% strikeout rate against righties is second lowest in baseball. So they're not striking out much. They're getting on base via the walk, and they're still a pretty powerful lineup in terms of hitting home runs. They've got Christian Walker with 20-plus bombs this season. Ketel Marte heating up himself. And this is a pretty solid, powerful lineup for Arizona. They don't score a ton of runs overall, but I still think this is a really good matchup for him facing Anderson, somebody that's struggled quite a bit now with a ZRA above 5 on the season. I'm going to take the Arizona Diamondbacks team total over 3.5. Next up, we see the Los Angeles Dodgers taking on the Colorado Rockies with Clayton Kershaw and Kyle Freeland as your starters. This is going to be a revenge spot here for Clayton Kershaw. He was embarrassed in his last outing at Coors Field against these Rockies. He gave up 6 earned runs and 2 homers in only 4 innings of work. That was a 7-4 Rockies win. But I think Kershaw bounces back here. He wasn't his best last outing against the Giants, but Clayton Kershaw overall this season still having a very solid season. 2.49 ERA, a winning record at 7-2 now. He's been sharp on the road, 2.2 ERA. He's been even better on the road than he's been at home. Coors Field, a hitter-friendly ballpark, but the Colorado Rockies' offensive numbers against lefties aren't as strong as they were at the beginning of the season, and the Dodgers' numbers against lefties have been fantastic lately. Number 3 in team OPS with an 892 team OPS. Isolated power, even better, number 2 in baseball with a 236 isolated power. Kyle Freeland is no gem on the mound, and I think the Dodgers can get to him early and often. I think the Dodgers have the big advantage in terms of these bullpens. Freeland at 5.66 ERA at Coors Field is far worse than his overall ERA this season. I'm going to take the Los Angeles Dodgers here on the run line, laying the 1.5 runs. Next up, we see the Chicago Cubs taking on the San Francisco Giants with Drew Smyly and Jakob Junis as your starters. Not my favorite game on the board. I think going in terms of taking a side, I've gone back and forth. I could see a case made for both teams right now, but in terms of the total, I think the over is the better option. It is a pitcher-friendly ballpark, and Oracle Park is getting a little bit cold there at nighttime in San Francisco. But Drew Smyly, a left-handed pitcher, the Giants have hit lefties very well this season, and that includes the last month. Jakob Junis is somebody that I am worried about in terms of regression, somebody that's given up a lot of home runs in his career. The Cubs have some good power numbers lately, so I could see that being an issue for him. He's given up at least 1 homer in 3 of his last 4 outings, and he hasn't really pitched too deep into ball games as well, and that leads me to my next point. I don't trust either of these bullpens at all, so if this is an early outing for Junis and an early outing for Smyly, I think if you put both of these bullpens in the game too early, we're going to see some runs from both teams, so I think this total's set just a little bit too low. Right now it's at 8. I would put it at around 9. So I think we're getting a little bit of value here with the over. Give me the over in the Cubs Giants. And in our final game of the night, we see another nationally televised game between the Texas Rangers and the Los Angeles Angels. 9:07 Eastern start time on Fox Sports 1 for this one. And we have a beauty of a pitching matchup. Glenn Otto and Chase Silseth. This is a tough one. I mean, 2 pitchers with ERAs above 5 right now. Glenn Otto giving up 3 earned runs in 4 of his last 5 outings. Silseth also really struggling, giving up 3 earned runs in 4 of his last 5 as well. Both pitchers giving up some home runs. This is a tough game, but I do trust Otto a little bit more. He's been sharp on the road this season, which is something good going for him. He also pitched pretty well against the Angels last time he faced them in LA. He went 5 innings, only 1 earned run with 7 strikeouts. The Angels offense I trust a lot less than the Rangers right now. Texas pretty good numbers against righties in the last month. Angels not so much. Although I think the Angels have the better bullpen, I think Otto is the better option here, and I think I'm going to take the Texas Rangers, especially when you're getting a really good price with them on the money line here on the road. And that's it. Those are the games for Saturday, July 30th. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pickdawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.